Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, I'm going to kick the ball over to this week. It's just going to be Randall and I. This is from a session that we recorded right at the end of January, right before. I know I've talked about it ad nauseum, I feel like, at this point on these Save It for the Cast intros, and possibly even on our regular episodes now, too. But Randall was gearing up for some travel to Michigan, and we will definitely be talking about, the hang and everything that we had. Unfortunately, it was just one day that we were able to squeeze in. Actually, at the end of this episode, Randall was kind of pitching the idea of hey, when I'm in town, I should bring, or actually we were just we'll use the figure-8 pattern on the microphone. We were kind of brainstorming how we could maybe get it done, but unfortunately we were just able to kind of hang, do a bunch of retro video game hunting, actually just kind of game hunting in general, not that we explicitly got only retro stuff, but we'll definitely be talking about our hauls and whatnot on a future episode of the, proper episode of the podcast and whatnot. But yeah, we were kind of gearing up for our travel plans, talking all sorts of video games and non-video games, kind of talking about our situation with my, updates on my pain situation, which actually this is the first episode here, or intro or whatever, that I'm recording. I've done a couple streams this way, which is actually what I'm going to talk about in the intro here as well. But I've got one of those kneeling ergonomic chairs. A friend of mine, after telling him about some of the symptoms with the back pain, and I have more than just back pain, but just to oversimplify it, the pressure in my tailbone really starts to build up when I sit over time. So it ends up being, I kind of shuffle between standing up, sitting down, and laying down being the ideal situation as far as minimizing pain goes, but obviously I can't get that much work done that way in any capacity, no matter what I'm doing, so standing up is a great option, but I don't at the moment have a great, desk for standing up and working and whatnot. I have a few different things I can do and get done, standing up, but not, everything. Definitely not the Pursuing Pixels related stuff on the computer and whatnot. So when I sit down on my regular chair, I've been getting kind of crammed. All my streams end up getting cut a little bit short. So when I sat on this chair and, was explaining my symptoms to my pal, he was like, hey, try this chair. He's like, I got had a lot of similar symptoms to you, and this really helped me out a lot. And I will say, it's, I didn't get the nicest chair first and foremost. I mean, there were some that cost $500. I got one that was on sale, normally $120. I paid $90 for it, but it looked nice. I liked the aesthetic of it the most, within my price range or within the price I wanted to spend. But so far, I will say it's not been a total game changer as far as it hasn't alleviated all my pain when sitting down, but the amount of time I'm able to sit and work is about the same. I've done a handful of streams, like I said, and I seem to go for about 2.5 hours before I'm okay, I got to pull the plug before the pain starts building up too much. But after I get up, I definitely have noticed a less, usually I get up and I'm kind of hurting for, another half hour or an hour before it kind of starts to mellow out a little bit to a normal baseline level of pain. And this has been, when I get up, I feel quite a bit better, and I feel it's helping me sort of get into a better position. Just overall, my pelvis has a weird tilt to it, but not that I intended to go into a total diagnosis of my health situation here, but whatever. It's good to give a little update on all that stuff. But yeah, with that said, not only have I had my health struggles, I've actually been having some PC struggles as well. Been having a ton of blue screen issues, although I think I figured out what was at the root of that. I don't know what it was initially, but I ended up having all sorts of issues, and I reset my PC and then was having blue screens like crazy after that. So that's why I was doing all these test streams as of late. But I think I figured it out. I had to update the trackpad driver and the graphics card driver. And there might be some other things too that got updated in the Windows updates. But I remember when I've had to reset my PC in the past, having to install those two specific things. So once I got those installed, I feel like it's been mostly smooth sailing. I don't want to jinx it. I always am nervous to ever even say anything like that. I say it all the time with my car too. It's my bumper's duct taped on, and it's just it's getting me from point A to point B. But every time somebody's like, hey, you want to drive my car instead, or should I drive? I'm like, no, I'm good. My car's fine. It's still running. But I'm just oh God, every time I say it, I'm just, waiting to eat my own words, eat some crow here. But yeah, just to talk about a few of the streams that I've been doing lately, and a few of the games for that matter. I'm just going to kind of fire off a couple of games that I've really, really enjoyed. I've been doing quite a few just kind of random jump around, bounce around streams, especially since I was just testing things out. I got a long 50-foot Ethernet cable, got that plugged in. I thought that was the root of my problem, and then I started having all those blue screen issues, and I was just man, I just cannot win right now with this situation. But yeah, thankfully I've been able to have 3-4 solid streams without, too many technical issues. And apart from just some streams where I was bouncing around playing some random stuff on Itch.io, some of the games that really, really stood out to me, I did a stream where I was kind of checking out some demos. And actually, I think I just checked out some newer releases as well. But the demo for this game, Windswept, just released fairly recently during some recent Steam festival, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it just released randomly on its own, but I know they have a Kickstarter coming up for the game this month. It might even already be active, maybe. If not, it's coming very, very soon, but it's a very heavily inspired by Donkey Kong Country game, but very much doing its own thing in a lot of ways. But very much, that was my only real beef with the demo, was like a lot of the bonus challenges are like collect the stars or collect the coins or collect the, like, they're just it's very much a game that's in the same structure and wrapping of Donkey Kong Country. You have a turtle and a duck character, both that have 2 different abilities, and that's where the game varies a little bit more. Both of the characters have a little bit more distinct abilities, whereas like it feels like you can do anything with any character in this game, but it definitely felt like DK and Diddy in specific, or in particular in the first game in the Donkey Kong Country series, they were pretty much, Diddy was a little bit faster, and Donkey Kong was a little slower, but a little more powerful, kind of more like the Goof Troop, Goofy and Max dynamic. And I guess they mixed it up a little bit more with Dixie and Diddy. Like they felt, it was definitely like, if I have Dixie, I'm going to play as her in almost every scenario. But yeah, it was really fun to play this demo. It was just a little bit more, you had to think of like, okay, what's the partner ability when the turtle is my main character, and what's the partner ability when the duck is my main character, and what is going to benefit me most in this situation. You do have to like juggle a little bit more. It wasn't so second nature, and I'm just so used to like picking up a game and just like, especially a platform, just running to the right or running whatever direction and hopping and bopping around and not having to think that much, that whenever a game is just like, especially when I've been watching like the clips, it's a game that I've been following a really long time, it feels like anyways, but been following for quite some time. And, whenever I see gameplay clips of the developer most likely being the one playing the game or recording the clip, it's like this super fluid, like speedrunner style gameplay, whereas like that's what I want to be doing while I'm playing it. But it's like, okay, this is my very first time with the game in my hands. I do have to kind of internalize these controls a little bit, but that was really my only gripe with the game, was just that it was like, yeah, it just felt like a little bit almost too specific at times, but I wouldn't even call that a gripe, because it does lead to some really cool level design and puzzle solving, and you can just kind of see like, oh, here's a way that I could do that with the turtle or do that with the duck. It just, the level design is really, really well thought out, and not to mention the pixel art is just absolutely stunning, and the music as well. It has like a really like nostalgic, like the music, at least in the first couple stages, like kind of had the Mario feel to it, but definitely had its own energy and dynamic as well. So yeah, really, really looking forward to this one, even more so after playing the demo, in spite of having a few small gripes with it. But another demo that I checked out on a recent stream, actually a little bit longer ago, I think, but is a game called AntonBlast, and I'm really, really excited for this game as well. I've been playing a bunch of Wario Land 3, which I'm going to be talking about on a future proper episode of the podcast, and I might be throwing in the towel with that game soon. I've made it quite a ways into it, but I'm just like, oh my god. I've submitted and I've started using the rewind feature in Wario Land 3, that is, on the Switch Online, but back to AntonBlast, and this is sort of like a sequel, spiritual successor to Anton Ball or Anton Ball Deluxe, but more of, this is like a platformer adventure where Anton Ball was kind of more of like an arcade single screen kind of platformer situation, a la, Donkey Kong, for lack of a better comparison, or even just the original Mario Bros. But yeah, AntonBlast, on the other hand, is more of like a Wario Land, even a little more Yoshi's Island at times, in the sense that like the level design's like a little more open. The demo that I played was really only kind of one long stage that took 10 or 15 minutes to rip through, but the pixel art was amazing. The energy was just fantastic. The music was really great. Just like the sense of speed, again, just like with Windswept, like I keep seeing clips of this game and like the developers just ripping through this level, just blowing through everything in sight. You got this like massive hammer and you're just plowing through blocks. It very much has that Wario Land energy, and even WarioWare energy at times, to like the music and whatever. I really, really am looking forward to that one. Again, it's another one that I was already on my radar, but then it was like, okay, this demo in my hands, I'm even more excited for this game than I was already. And yeah, I've been playing playing a bunch of kind of puzzle platformery stuff, but the other game that really kind of caught my attention the other day, and our buddy Rare Like a Unicorn, the developer, I believe their name is Travis, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Travis, aka Rare Online, is what they go by on social media and whatnot. But they finally released their game that's also been in development for a long time on the PICO-8 fantasy console, and the game is called Astra and the New Constellation. And if you see this game, we've talked about the PICO-8 fantasy console a number of times on the podcast, and it's kind of this, if you're unfamiliar, it's kind of this like fake, it's a real thing, but it's not an actual console, but it's like this 8-bit retro, console that never existed, but that has these, restrictions and limitations that are kind of built into the system, and you actually can develop the games right on the actual, quote unquote console or software, and then play the games right there as well. But a lot of people will actually like develop games on there and upload them, and that you can have them playable right in the browser, which is really cool. This is one of the very few games I've come across, although there's a good handful of them, and there's definitely plenty more that should be a retail or commercial game. This one will set you back $5 again. Our pal Rare Like a Unicorn sent this one our way, but it's one that I wouldn't scoff or wouldn't balk for a single second to pick up for $5, and might even just pick up down the line just to support Travis as well. But really a big fan of this one. It almost feels like a Sega like Genesis. I mean, it's an 8-bit game, so it's more of like a Sega Master System, but it's definitely above that. But it really has like this Sega energy to it, and I think that's probably mostly from like the level intro sequences. Like, it really reminds me of Sonic or Ristar or just anything from Sonic Team in general. But just really fluid, smooth, precision platforming, really built around speed running. There's also a bunch of collectibles on each stage, which there's like these dust particles that you can, I think they're, there to build the new constellations or whatever. And it's like, I missed 2 of them, and I was thinking, I can just go back later. And I think I missed them on the 2nd or 3rd stage. So I was thinking, it's just going to get harder from here. So like, okay, I'm not going to stress out about getting every collectible on my first playthrough, but I ended up getting every one after that, and it was just like, oh God, now I got to replay it again. But it certainly won't be a chore, because I really love this game, and I do think it would actually shine playing it again a second time, just being, getting a little more used to the mechanics, a little more used to the level design, because it does start to, you're just meant to be moving really quick and really fast. Again, back to that, just seeing clips of like your character has this like slide ability. You can also like jump and kind of hover, kind of Mario World cape style, where you can just kind of flutter down if you're holding down the jump button, which I thought was a little overpowered on the first stage. Like, I was like, if you can, if you use that all the time, you're going to be, it's just going to make the game a little bit too easy. But then when you get to some of the later stages where you're bouncing on these moving springs and platforms that are just flying all over the place, and you're trying to dodge these little flies, which are, for me at least, were like some of the toughest enemies to dodge. I think they were flies anyways, whatever. There was some little floating particles. Maybe they were like meteorite particles or something like that, but they were always just somehow managing to get in my way. But yeah, I could just ramble on and on about some of the stuff I've played. Stuffo the Puzzle Bot was another awesome game. Sekisai Puzzle Action. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but just really been playing a bunch of awesome stuff. If you check out our Twitch channel, I've been, highlighting all the individual games that I've really enjoyed as like, okay, this is something I definitely want to recommend. But yeah, I think I'll leave the rambling there, because I've already gone on for longer than expected here. But yeah, I'm going to kick the ball over to Randall and I, like I said at the start. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. Yeah, speaking of games, man, we got a ton of stuff on the table too.
Yeah.
For do you still want to try to do a dub, or
I can do? Yeah.
I'm cool either way, but happy to try to knock one out. That'll give us plenty of buffer if if John's burned out or whatever. Just and with your traveling and then me going to Chicago the following week, just like, okay, we're just good for a while.
Yeah, because even coming back, like I'm coming back on like a Wednesday in the middle of February, so like I likely wouldn't be able to do much until probably that week after, which is like the last full week of February to do a recording otherwise, So
yeah, and I'd probably be in about the same boat after going out to Chicago to get my stuff, and then I just getting situated, unpacking. It's just usually kind of draining, especially being in the car that long. hopefully maybe after all this, physical therapy, new stuff I've been doing, maybe the car ride won't be as brutal. I actually found a slightly better like position. Like, I'm a decently taller guy, but for whatever reason, I had my car seat pushed up further than I realized. Like I think because when I was moving and I just like had to move it up to fit more stuff in the back of the hatchback. So I think I kind of forgot about that and I still had it kind of pushed up a little. So I slid it back a little and I was like, oh, okay, I'm a little more comfortable like this. So
I should probably think about that too. I'm also somebody that way. Like, I push it up because like Fiona's car seat was behind me or whatever else I had in the car. And then I'm just always like, just jump in and go. Like, I just don't even think about it. It's just like, I'm just used to it. And I'm just used to driving in smaller cars, but I probably should consider stuff like that ergonomically a little bit more often.
Yeah, I really should get like I'm so cheap because they like made this like little towel makeshift thing for me. But when I was in that chronic pain program, they like showed me this like little like inflatable, like, because most car seats like are kind of like tipped backwards. Yeah. They're sort of like slanted down in the back. Yeah. And they were like, especially with your like the way your pelvis is tilted, they're like, it might actually help to like raise that back part up. So it's like sort of like this little like half the size of the seat rectangle cushion. And it was like, I think you just blow it up with your mouth or whatever. It's just like, kind of like a little inner tube or like arm floaty almost. Yep. Type thing. But it like really kind of, because it's just filled with air, it like really kind of like really alleviated the pressure on my tailbone. Oh. And so they made me this like makeshift one with a towel, and I used that for a while, and then it just like, it would always get bunched up and like just kind of get a little bit out of whack. And it ended up like, when it was good, it helped a little, but when I've like, it just became more annoying than usual. But I'm just like, I remember them saying, oh, these inflatable ones are kind of expensive, so just use a towel. But I've never actually looked up like how much they are. They're probably just expensive for what they are. Right. When you're just thinking, oh, I'm just buying this little, inflatable cushion. It shouldn't be that much. But if it's going to help my body feel better, it's like, it's worth it.
Yeah. And it'd probably end up being like $30-$40 or something. Exactly. And it's like... expensive is relative in that case, Yeah,
when you're talking about your health and your, well-being or whatever, just your ability to enjoy your life. And again, it's like getting in the car for whatever reason, like just the way I have to kind of cram myself in there, it does, messes me up more than sitting elsewhere. Like when I'm sitting on the computer, I can do that for longer without getting distracted. Right. The car, like even when I've taken like, the drive from Michigan to Chicago, which is 5 hours ish. Yeah. Like usually I have to stop at a couple rest stops and like I don't have to stop for a long time, but I have to kind of like legit like get out of the car and stretch and whatever, like kind of like alleviate some of that pain, or else it's like it'll get too much to like focus on driving, Yeah. So. Oh yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I should look up those cushions. I'm glad I kind of thought about that.
You should. We're all up in that sort of stuff lately. We actually bought some like air cushion thing that Tina found out about, that's like for your legs to like ease, basically to have like a foot cushion type of thing / for Fiona to have like, basically would make the seat like one big large like area where you would put your legs, like Fiona could lay on the seat and then on that thing to like lay her body across that way, right? Or you can use it to like be, there's like a smaller one that you can use just to like keep your feet propped up a little bit, if your legs are shorter, on a plane or whatever. So
yeah, that's smart, because
use that for them.
Yeah, anytime like your legs are, they say like they always said in like that, again, in that back to like sitting at that right angle, like technically your like legs should almost be like, your knees should be a little bit lower than where your hips are. Yeah, like they should be almost on like just a slight downward angle, like when you're just regularly sitting. Right. And I never sit like that, just because the pain on my tailbone, I always end up kind of like trying to sit up in a weird way and put less pressure on it, but I think I like squeeze everything else and But definitely making a little progress. So
that's good.
I feel like I'm being negative about it, but I'm like, hey, I'm actually do feel like I'm making progress. Like I didn't not mean it when I said, hey, I'd be down to try playing a show. Like maybe that would be a hurdle to jump over. So I'm glad that maybe that's still a hurdle to jump over, but just maybe in like June or July or something.
Yeah, that much more likely to succeed
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. and give a little more time to like, okay, I'm trying it. Like we've practiced a couple times. Like, okay, I'm nowhere near ready. Or okay, yeah, I'm ready. Let's book a show. Let's try it.
That's awesome.
We'll see. I do miss playing music. Even when I was talking to my dad, the radiologist, my dad's or my brother's friend's dad. Jeez, I couldn't get that out. But when I was talking to him earlier, like I said something like, yeah, before the surgery, I was like playing in a band and this and that. And he was just like, hey man, you donated your body to music or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a good way to put it. Like it makes me feel at least like it was sort of worth it.
Right. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
This is not entirely untrue.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not.
That's great.
But yeah, man, I'm excited, especially because you've been a little cryptic about the Apple Arcade stuff. So I know you played Grindstone, but I'm like, I wonder what else he played.
I'm always cryptic about that.
I like
stuff,
it,
Kevin. It's better for the podcast.
It really is. I do like when we lean a little more conversational these days.
Yeah.
It's been like we'll go like a little off on a tangent, like we kind of squeezed in a little chasm conversation in there when when we were just talking about Metroid Zero Mission or whatever.
I know.
So, oh man, good
chasm.
stuff. But how do we want to split this stuff up for tonight if we're gonna do a dub?
So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about Mario Golf, Game Boy Color, which I can, and I can also throw in a little bit more about Analog Pocket because obviously that's what I'm playing on it. And then Panzer Dragoon Saga, and then Apple Arcade. And I've got some stuff around Apple Arcade that I'll get into that'll probably, we could probably talk on that for a little while, I think.
Yeah. And then for what it's worth, I've got an Apple Arcade on top of Grindstone. I would probably give, even though I've talked about it briefly on a Save It for the Cast, that Word Web game from Sock Pop was a Apple Arcade game as well.
Yeah.
So
I downloaded that. I didn't get a chance
to
launch it yet, but I downloaded it. So
nice. Yeah, I'll probably give that a little shout out if it comes up naturally.
Yeah.
And then we've obviously got Mario 3D World, or Bowser's Fury more specifically.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of stuff that we can talk on for a while.
Kind of talk on, yeah. And I played Klonoa, which beat that, which I talked about it a little bit on at some point. I don't remember, but I don't think I talked about it much properly on an episode.
No.
But I would just, if I talked about it, it'd be more kind of like, oh, well, we're talking about Mario. I beat another platformer.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I played like some Ludum Dare 52 games on a stream. I played this other really cool Stelloop game. I played some of this Lone Ruin game.
Okay.
Just been playing all sorts of stuff. Just played this demo for this game that's on Kickstarter. Kind of like a Donut Dodo style arcade game, like that single screen called Alien Xenocide.
Okay.
Which is apparently a sequel or successor to their previous game, Alien Xenoblaster, which looks very similar style gameplay, but it just has like a really, really like zany, like 90s cartoon art style. Like, I don't know. It looks really cool in the demo. I just played like through 2 levels and I was like, oh, this is sweet.
Nice.
But I don't need to necessarily talk about that. But yeah, that Stelloop game was really cool from the Revita dev. I think I've talked about Revita on the podcast. So most of that stuff would just be kind of shout out.
Sure.
While I streamed it. But yeah, my main stuff was more like the Sock Pop stuff I've been playing, or and actually I played a decent amount of the Panzer Dragoon remake.
Oh yeah. I
don't know if you've played any of that.
No, I saw that on the list, and that's one, like, you guys bought it for $2 when you did. I think I might have, I probably only paid like, it was a previous sale where it was close to that price, I want to say already. Even though I also had bought that physically on limited run, it was like so crazy cheap like that I'm like, okay.
Just be nice to have it on the console. Yeah,
I have it like digitally, and I don't have to open this, which is just gross sicko mode collector stuff. But when it's like
it's real
$2.50 or something, $2.50 or whatever it was, and I probably had like the gold points to pay for it, I'm like, well. Yeah, okay. And I really want to see them put Zwei on, a remake, or at least like, get that game ported somehow.
When I was looking up the game, like I typed in Panzer Dragoon remake, like I was just looking it up for something. Maybe I was pasting the link on like a video for something. I don't know. I was looking it up for something, and just like filling in the autofill, it said like Panzer Dragoon Zwei remake, and I was like, what? Or Zwei. I was like, what? Like, is that a real thing? Like, I thought it was already out and missed it. I was like, maybe that's why it's on sale, but it didn't look like that was the case. But
I don't think so. I think they speculated, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
I'd definitely love to see it. But
Me too.
Yeah. But yeah, I could kind of, if you're going to talk Saga, I could dabble a little on that. But we could definitely converse heavily on Mario, because I have plenty of thoughts, and we could obviously just kind of talk Mario, 3D and 2D. I'm sure we'll just talk Mario in general.
No, I definitely wouldn't mind talking that Panzer Dragoon remake too, because I did play the first few levels a couple of nights ago. So
nice. That's about how far I got. I think I played like 3-4 levels. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious, because that's kind of my first time playing that game, to be honest. So in any capacity other than the demo on Saturn.
Yeah.
So
even
though I own the first one in Zwei on is it Zwei or Zwei? Zwei, right?
I think it's Zwei. I actually even looked it up. I searched like how it was pronounced. Like I literally like Googled Zwei pronunciation.
Yeah.
And now that you say, let's see, it's going to show it again. Zwei.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yep. There you go.
Oh, because it's ein, zwei, drei.
Yeah,
okay.
It's German, despite being Japanese developed. It is a German word.
That's funny. Yeah. But I don't know. How do we want to split things up? We could do the Mario and Mario Golf stuff together. We could do the
yeah. I think that's cool.
Keep it kind of Nintendo heavy on that one. Because
Sure.
Apple Arcade, we got plenty of games we can talk about there too.
Oh yeah.
Like that could almost be almost be its own episode.
That'll be a pretty big segment as well.
I almost feel like we could do these like Apple Arcade the main thing, Mario the main thing, and like talk about a couple other things, but just kind of almost go that route.
I'll probably talk on Panzer in a couple different ways on both of those games for a little while too, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So we should plop those in. Well, why don't we do like the Mario and the Panzer stuff on one, and then the Apple Arcade, and then if it feels like, oh, this feels a little short, I can talk some like Ludum Dare stuff or just random stuff that I've been streaming or whatever, or playing on Switch. I feel like that should probably work.
Yep.
You got any preference on which one to do first, or?
Let's do the Mario and the Panzer stuff first. Let's do that one first.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. You got any preference on which one to start with? Maybe lead with the Panzer stuff, because we could sort of make it like a follow up on Saga and the little Panzer Dragoon remake, and then
let's do that.
And then we can just go full, whole hog on Mario.
And that alone will be plenty of episode, I can pretty much promise you.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. I was just telling my mom earlier. I was like, it's just Randall and I tonight, and I was like, usually when it's just two of us recording, I was like, we just tend to like, because they're not. Like, I just feel like we're all like kind of conscientious of, even though I talk my fucking head off, but like,
well, you're the
we're
host.
All pretty conscientious. That's true, yeah. But we're all pretty conscientious of like, oh, it's like make sure everyone has their segment and make sure everybody like gets to chime in and whatever. So like when there's just two of us, it's kind of a little more easy to naturally feel like, okay, they're done talking, and I don't have to make sure John doesn't want to chime in.
Yes.
And then like, but I don't want the pause to be too long. Like, it's just, you don't overthink it as much. Not that I think any of us really overthink it at this point, but you can just feel like even editing feels easier. Granted, there's one less audio file to edit, but it's just like there's less just choppiness to the conversation.
No doubt.
It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
So
I totally agree.
Yeah. Plus, we'll be able to probably, I don't know if John's played any yet, but I know he just snagged this Panzer Dragoon remake as well.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to still keep talking Panzer for quite some time.
Good.
You drinking anything on your end over there?
Yeah, just some of the remainder of the oh gosh, what was the Christmas booze that we had? It was like some cheap large jug of brandy. that we had, where it's just like a little bit left at the bottom. Otherwise, like there's practically no alcohol. We're trying to Dranuary a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and if you're about to travel too, like no need to like stock up.
Yeah, no. So like,
I've had to resist.
I'm killing that off with some Coca-Cola Zero product. You know, that's pretty much the slime that I'm into right now.
Hey, I was I was at Trader Joe's the other day and they had a bunch of that witch's brew.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I remember getting that over at Randall's.
Oh
And,
yeah.
You guys were big on that. It is just like, you got to be in the mood. Like you don't want to have it for every time you want wine. Like it's super sweet.
Yes.
If you're in the mood for that, and like, I don't know, it kind of has that mulled wine kind of taste.
Big time. And it's not expensive at all. And if you're in the right mood and it's the right season, it's a good product.
It's great for like party, Halloween party, Thanksgiving, but any kind of get together, like where it's just like, oh, we just have like this on demand, basically.
Yes.
It's like, you can just pound that stuff.
Yes,
so
you can.
Good.
I'm glad they're still making it. The old Leelanau wine cellars.
They have quite a few like different versions of it now.
Really?
Like there's like a white wine version, but it's still witch's brew. But it looked like they had like 3 or 4 different like varieties of it.
Oh, so that's funny. I didn't know that.
Maybe they're just it could. I didn't look at it well enough. Like it could have just been a regular Pinot Grigio or something, or, just made by their label or something. But I got the vibe that it was like made with green apples. Like it still looked kind of like fruity and I don't know. So
that's cool. I'm definitely looking forward. Michigan's got great alcohol. I tell you that much. So
it's been. It's so nice. Like, I got kind of, especially doing like the beer buying and stuff at a lot of the bars and stuff that I worked at over the years in Chicago. You got kind of sick of just everybody. Hey, what's local on tap? What do you got local? What do you got? Go to the brewery or something. Like, I don't know. You just got kind of sick of like everybody local, like breweries coming in, try our new beer. Like, it's just like, dude, we can only order so much beer. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, me and the other manager at the last job I was at, we literally had to like just tell people like, we have this one day. This is the only day we can meet with people and talk beer and alcohol.
Wow.
Like, otherwise, we just all of our time they're just constantly getting interrupted by like a rep from another company or brewery. Like, vendors. Hey, try our new beer.
Yeah.
And like in Chicago, it's just like there's literally a new brewery or distillery or whatever like in the vicinity. And it's like, man, we want to have local stuff, but like, man, we can't like buy everything that shows up on the market.
And especially in those days, those were the boom days for, beer and, the craft spirits.
The crafts.
Yeah, all that was the boom days for all that stuff,
Yep, and obviously it's like booming the most in the big cities and stuff. So it's kind of nice.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I just got so sick of seeing all those like even the ones that I liked, I was just like, who cares? A half acre, big whoop.
Yeah.
I just got sick of seeing them around and sick of all the same old beers. So now that I'm back in Michigan, it kind of feels nice to again be like, ooh, let me look for the local stuff.
Of course.
I get where people are coming from.
Of course.
Like, I gotta have especially if you're in from out of town. Like, I gotta have some Chicago beers.
Limited opportunity.
Yeah.
That's great.
Definitely. Speaking of, do you need a refill or anything or bathroom break before we get rolling?
I'm going to do a bit of both. And then, let's talk about some video games.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm definitely pumped for the slate we got tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pumped because I was like, what are we gonna do? Because the house right now is like, we don't even have a couch, we don't have flooring in half the house, like it's kind of a shit show.
Well, I was even throwing out there we could even do something where we tried to record something if we wanted to or needed to, in person. But I also understand if that's like way too much of a logistical nightmare to try to do something.
Logistically, I don't think it would be that terrible. You'd have to pack a mic with you or whatever, but because I don't think I have an extra mic here that I would be able to use for that. I don't think.
What about the duopoly mode or whatever the hell on the Yeti?
Oh,
you can't do that, or does that not work that well?
That would I've never actually tried it other than like when John and I did those like live streams, but we weren't like sitting across from one another. We were just like doing it like yeah, I just like put it in between us. Like he was sitting on one chair, I was on a couch, and just like, oh, this should work good enough, and like didn't really test it or anything. So we weren't like really doing it properly.
Right.
So it probably would. I just wouldn't have control over like mixing individually.
Right.
But realistically, I think we could gauge like how loud we're talking.
It probably would amount to like a save it for the cast type of of environment in the first place. I would imagine,
Yeah, that could be fun to do for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be down. Like, I don't want to put like pressure on that for like, hey, if I'm on vacation, I don't want to like, I never want to like be like, hey, let's do some work while you're.
I'm always working, Kevin. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's no
that's
biggie.
fair. That's fair. But still, I just like I never think like even like the other day, John was texting about while Glenn was in town, and he was like, hey, do you guys want to try to play a show while Glenn's in town? I was like, and Glenn was like, I said, I was like. I'm making a little bit of progress on my health situation. I was like, I can't make any promises, but I was like, as long as if it was like maybe if we played with like a friends band that we knew that like they knew that like, hey, we might be able to play 2-3 songs and maybe have to cut it short or maybe might have to back out once we practice and realize, hey, I can't quite do it. Like as long as maybe I was like, I could maybe commit to that. And then Glenn was like, hey, I'm going to be really busy while I'm in town. Like, maybe if we planned on it, like a separate trip to do a show, like I'm down, but like, I wouldn't be able to do it for this trip. And I was like, okay, Glenn, you kind of saved me there. Cause I was
time.
I was like, I think I bit off a little more than I could chew, but I'm just sick. I'm just sick of always having to be like, I don't think I'm ready, guys. And even though it's true, you just get sick of like, I'm the one stopping us from playing music together right now. It's like, sucks. So like I'm always thinking about that in the back of my head, like maybe I can suck it up and figure it out. And again, like kind of like the job thing I was talking about earlier, maybe that would be motivation for me to like push a little harder to like and I do feel like when I sing that like gets those muscles I used to use like when I'm just singing in the car or whatever. I'm like, man, I feel really weak in those muscles, but I feel like using them again does feel good. So part of me is like, maybe that would help, maybe trying to drum a little more here and there would be able to, maybe that would build up those muscles again. I don't know.
I bet y'all do a reunion show at some point in some capacity.
I hope so. I definitely like, we still send each other like riffs here and there, like song ideas, like, hey, let's, John just set up a Google Drive folder for like song ideas the other day. Like, hey, let's not let these just like, die in our text thread,
Right.
Let's put them somewhere where they stay.
That's smart. Yeah.
So John, typical John, always like thinking of like, hey, how can we keep this more organized than just this nonsense? So,
he's very good at that.
Yeah. It's definitely no wonder that he's good at being an accountant.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
Like that just makes sense that's like the way his brain operates. Like make sure everything adds up properly the way that it's supposed to. Like I think he made a spreadsheet of like in Boss Fight, like all the shows we ever played, like when they were, where they were.
Oh, that's cool.
If we got paid, how much we got paid, like to keep track of like every aspect of it.
That's good to know too.
But it's sweet to just like with the podcast, we can go back and reference. We can be like, man, we played like 75 shows or however many we played. Like that's crazy, and like remember all of them, where they were at. It's just cool, I think he even had who we played with.
That's cool.
It's crazy, but it's awesome to have that kind of stuff where like me, I just think like, oh, I'll remember. And then like 2 years later, wait, who did we play with? I don't really remember that
seriously.
band. I sort of remember that drummer. I don't know what you're talking about.
7 months later, like,
for real. short term and long term memory is shot.
Mm-hmm.
Not shot, but it's seen better days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that would be cool. I'm glad you suggested that. Yeah, let's keep that on the back burner.
It's a possibility. Cool just throwing that out there as a possibility.